Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show, we're talking about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Bull. Very interesting episode that went down. It did not click in my head. The moment, Claire brought up it, she's like, Aunt Diana, it didn't click in my head until Diana popped up later, and I'm like, Diana, because I was excited. I was like, hey, Diana's back. Yeah, that's awesome. And then I was like, Diana. It's like, and Bull's like, oh yeah, why did you want me here and everything? I was like, oh, I was thinking, that's your niece and everything. It's like, it didn't click in my head. It's been a while since Diana popped up, so of course it wouldn't come to my head immediately. But I was like, oh my god, that's interesting. So basically, Randy and Claire just got married and came back from Thailand. Well, now they're actually being arrested and going to court because they're being, charged with armed robbery. The place that Claire works for got robbed, and basically the people who robbed it they were masked and everything, but they looked about Randy and Claire's size and height, and they're the only ones who know that information. But now it's kind of interesting because Diana and Bull are both going to work on this case, but different avenues, because you can tell from the beginning that Diana didn't like Randy just by the way she was acting in the court. And when they were talking and everything, because Randy's like, so you're going to represent both of us? And Diana's like, we'll work out the details later. It's like, yeah, she doesn't like Randy. I was like, what for? I guess it's just because she had already looked into him, because it's like, yeah, you date my niece and everything. Obviously, I'm going to look into you because I have that power. But it's like he did some mischief. He was up to some stuff here and there throughout his life, like some petty robbery when he was younger, stuff in his juvie record and stuff like that, smashing a guitar over someone's head or something like that 3 years ago, getting a bar fight. So it's like that just made Diana automatically not like him. But it's like Paul's like, hey, the fact of the matter is, having Randy kind of stumbling on his own with some other, someone defending him, like all that's going to do is that person's just going to look after Randy's best interests and not Claire's. It's like, you and me, I represent Randy, you represent Claire, but me and you, Diana, we work together. You have tax resources at your disposal because we're working together. That way we're kind of a united front. So I thought that was kind of interesting, especially considering the fact of the matter is a lot of times they've been on the opposite side of each other when it comes to these type of things. So it's always nice, see them kind of collaborating in this regard. Because the last time they worked together, it was a case where they were on two different sides of it, but they ultimately came together in the end with everything. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But at first I was like, Bull's drinking. Because even Diana picks it up. She's like, he's up here sleeping and stuff. Like, 2 drinks is usually what got him going. Now he's going to sleep after 2. And I was like, yeah. I was like, what? And I was like, Bull didn't tell her, because I was worried, because Marissa was like, oh yeah, Bull, he kind of didn't come in last night, he was out kind of late, and Benny's like, oh, he'll do what he wants to do and stuff like that. I thought it was him going to potentially spiral back to being gone with the old Bull or something like that, but it's like, no, he just didn't tell Diana because I guess he's too embarrassed and stuff like that. Even to the point him and Diana started getting hot and heavy. They went dancing and stuff, and Bull got a couple drinks in, he started enjoying himself and stuff like that, kind of cutting loose a little bit. I thought that was nice, but when the time came, he kind of bailed because his heart was pounding like crazy. I even love that he went to his doctor about it. He was like, his doctor was like, yeah, the fact of the matter is, because Bull was worried, but his doctor was like, no, it's nothing wrong. Because it wasn't until now, it's like, oh yeah, Bull hasn't actually been with anyone, like, in that sense. Like, he's hooked up with other people in between the whole Diana situation. I was wondering what their whole situation is, and I guess it's just kind of like a, hey, were you kind of, I guess, friends with benefits type of situation? Like, I guess they never went all exclusive. Because I was like, yeah, in between, like, Diana's appearances, like, he's hooked up with other people. So I was like, I guess it's just kind of like, hey, we just keep it super casual. We don't have to make this into something else. Because there was that other lawyer that was talking about last time where it's kind of like, who was it a while back that was kind of like, let's go for drinks, and he was like, maybe some other time, but she was kind of like flirting with him and everything. So it's like that, but nevertheless. But it was interesting because his doctor was like, oh, okay. He's like, some men, after having, the experience you did, that sometimes they're kind of a little hesitant and afraid to have sex because they're thinking, like, maybe once I have sex, I'll end up having a heart attack again. And Bull's like, you act like that's not the case. He's like, no, it's all in your head. It's like this coming from the heart doctor to the head doctor, which is kind of interesting. When you have doctors giving other doctors advice, but that's always the thing. Like, doctors can never be their own doctors because that's always a complicated situation of being a doctor to a doctor. Like, even though they're two different medical fields, the fact of the matter is doctors are always going to think they know more than you or whatever. But I thought it was kind of interesting. It's like, hey, it's just all in your own head. You tell this woman how you feel, and then you do your thing. You tell her what happened, and that's it. And Bull's like, well, what if you're wrong? And he's like, well, then you'll die. but then isn't that a way to go? I'm like, your doctor is super morbid that he even joked like that. Like, obviously, like in real life, he'd be like, that's, I don't know. I guess it depends on your relationship with your doctor. I guess Bull being who he is, that they have that kind of relationship. But it's like, I'm sure a lot of people be like, I'd never want my damn doctor making a joke like that. Like, we ain't tight like that. But to be fair, maybe Bull and this doctor have known each other prior to now, or even just the fact that the matter is of just, in the time since Bull surgery and everything like that. It's also interesting too because it was like, oh, his scars and everything. I wonder, did Diana even see his chest or whatever? Because I didn't know he had chest. I didn't know he had scars on his chest and stuff like that. Because I didn't realize he had surgery. Like I just thought like, oh, everything was good. He just had to change up his diet. But it seems like no, he actually had surgery. And well, he was also talking about like getting a stylist to kind of do something about the hair on Bull's chest because it was kind of wild and out of control. But that was kind of interesting because he was even saying like, no, Bull's in the best health of his life. So everything that he was dealing with is just, it's just kind of like, oh, this is the first time being with someone since then. So it's like all like psychosomatic, all in his head and everything. So, but because Bull didn't really explain everything, Diana kind of took that personal. So she kind of pushes Bull away, kind of gets a little snippy with him, is kind of a little short with him, not really. And it's like, oh, she talks to Claire alone. And even Benny's kind of in that awkward position of like, yeah, I can take like, what was it, like the subway or something. Like, I don't have to, I can find another, okay, just kind of caught in the middle of that situation. Even Diana being like, let's switch seats and stuff like that. So, I also love the whole back and forth throughout the episode of Marissa and Bull, where Bull is just kind of like, Marissa's like telling him the truth. He's like, what? Don't tell me the truth. If I want to hear the truth, I'll go outside and talk to myself. And then it happens later on. He's like, what did I tell you about telling me the truth? And then the whole Jacqueline thing, which I'm going to get to that in a second. And he's like, if she started bringing up the fact is that Randy and her had sex, I want you to call him a bomb threat just to kind of get people out of this courtroom just so we don't have to hear it. Because that kind of took me by surprise. It's like, who's Jacqueline? Who's Jacqueline? It's like, I was like, oh, please don't tell me some woman that Randy having an affair with. It's like, no, it's his ex-girlfriend. Ex-fiance. And that turns into a whole thing. It's like, oh, he wanted the ring back. It was his grandmother's, and it's like, and then he came over to my place, and it's like, oh man. And I was like, please don't tell me you did it, Randy. But it's like, no, all we did was talk. It's like, yes, Randy. And he was like, and he told me the truth about him meeting someone else, and I personally got upset and told him he's not going to get the ring back. I was like, yes. But then it's kind of like that was the same night of the robbery, which means Randy lied, which in retrospect, Randy explained it later on. And it's like the moment, even before he explained it, I was like, it's most likely because it's like, yeah, the thing of telling like your current fiance, like, oh yeah, I'm going to go to my ex-fiance to get back the ring. Because that's many different things. Because for one, it's like, not only are you going to go to your ex, it's like, you don't want to have that conversation. Like, not only are you going over to, like, it's like, I'm trying to protect your feelings and everything. It's also because it's like, that's the complicated situation. Plus, it's like, they sat over there and talked for a little bit too. Like, that's just going to make your mind wander. You're potentially going to think the worst and stuff like that. I mean, it depends on you. I mean, they are newlyweds and whatnot, newly engaged and all that. So, I'm sure those insecurities will kind of bubble up in that particular situation. So, because for, Claire, she didn't know what to believe because it's like Randy had been like, oh, no, the hat or whatever, I lost it. But then, like, Claire was like, no, he had it. I don't know why he was lying. It's just like, no, he got forgetful about it. He had just put it up and he had forgotten about it. So from the very beginning, I knew it had to be the guy that was sitting beside him, the guy that was getting all friendly with her and stuff like that. It's like, because she's saying the safe code and everything over the phone. I'm like, you're saying that loud enough. He had to be the only. I figured it had to be him. Because they made such a point to like make them talk and everything, and him pointing out he's allergic to her perfume and stuff like that. It even killed me when like it was kind of adorable when like Mr. Green, who runs the place she works at, was waving to her in court. Everyone in court's kind of laughing. He's like, "Oh, that's my Clary," and it's just like even the DA kind of being like the guy that's prosecuting being like kind of getting a little nervous because things aren't really kind of going his way. But then it's like, oh yeah, the person. The lady was kind of like, hey, Randy, stop, you're going to beat him to an inch of his life or whatever. And then it's like, oh, it doesn't look good for Randy at that point in time. So, and especially got worse because, literally Diana trying to throw Randy under the bus, being like, oh, maybe it was you, Jacqueline, and Randy who tried to rob. And then, like, you had Benny stand up, objection, and the judge is like, what are you objecting? And he can't think of anything because even Bull's like, yeah, I guess an objection isn't you can't warrant an objection for someone stabbing you in the back, because we are still on the same side. So there's no legal term for like, I mean, because what they're doing, I guess there's no like legal protection in that regard in case one tries to stab the other in the back. But you know, because Diana was acting like that out of like, for one, it's just because she felt like, hell, he's this dude, he's no good. Like, obviously she's getting very protective of her family. It's like, screw Randy, he's a terrible person. The fact of the matter is his past, but also just like, oh, he's not good enough for my niece. He's lying about stuff like that. But also, I'm sure like on some level it also came down to the situation. I mean, she didn't let Bull in on all that too, because it's like, she's pissed at him too, because he didn't tell her the truth about everything. But when it was all said and done, it was like, oh yeah, the pieces start coming together, because Claire admitted like she gave her code to Mr. Green, but she never expressly explained like, oh yeah, I said it out loud for enough people around me to hear me about that situation. So that kind of got them looking into this dude. I even love how Chuck handled that later on. It was like, oh yeah, I got the perfume there. It seemed like that was just kind of a dick move, because it's like you already know what's happening and everything, and you're just out there getting him sneezing. But I guess it's to kind of catch him off guard. It's like everything had already fallen in place. The police had already searched his place, retrieved all they needed to retrieve. His ex-wife had already confessed about everything, and it was kind of like, you did that just to kind of get that extra boom, 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 like gut punch or whatever. Being like, oh, I know your name and everything, being Mr. Cool, Suave, and like dangerous. Like, I'm not dangerous, but like, I don't know, it's like, it's already over for you. Your time's up. Better enjoy that drink. You won't be having any for a very long time. And it's like, and Chunk even being like, don't worry, the drink's on me. And it's like, look at you being all cool and everything. But it was almost unnecessary. You did it just to be cool. I guess just to kind of like throw the book at him even harder and, you know, in his face, you know. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of interesting. So, but it does look like everything, even with this in their path, it does seem like everything's going to work out for Randy and Claire. Like, I was worried for a second too, like everybody else, like there might be some suspicious stuff that comes up about Randy, but other stuff in his past was all about it. And Randy in general, everything he was doing was just kind of to protect Claire. And but it seems like they're good, get back to their engagement and everything. So, well, no, because I don't think they were even engaged. They did get married. I keep forgetting. Like, I think it's because the whole no ring thing kept making me think that. But it's like, no. Like, they got married. It's just like she didn't have a ring because he didn't have anything to give her, because the ring he wanted to give her was his grandmother's ring, which he had to get back from his ex-fiance and stuff like that. So in the end, I mean, still, everything kind of works out, because even Diana's like, yeah, I got to look at him a little bit differently. I kind of treated Randy badly. But it's like, Bull's like, in the end, he knows you were just doing your job. So, but Bull ends up kind of pulling Diana aside. She's like, oh, the bar's over there. He's like, actually, I'm trying not to drink anymore, and that's okay. She's like, yeah, I'm fine with that. Well, he's like, and something happened to me back in May. And she's like, what? And he's like, we'll talk about that later. I think on some level, it's because Bull is who he is, and if admitting to Diana what happened to him, maybe he's just kind of like, oh, maybe she'll be reserved about, because I feel dickish about it, but I was like, isn't it like age, what's the different age difference? I would assume it's the same one between Michael Weatherly and Jill Flint, yeah, the respective actors. I don't know, but I was thinking like maybe he'd feel like an old man or something like that, but I think it's also maybe it comes down to like being vulnerable with someone, being open about maybe because like if he brings it up with someone he's intimate with, it makes it more real, and maybe he's afraid she'll start walking on pins and needles, or at the very least maybe she won't want to be with him anymore. Like at the very least, I think the thought of it in general kind of scared him, so that's why he didn't say anything. Maybe she'd look at him differently. I don't know. Because even in the end, he didn't really say anything. I'm assuming that conversation is had, but I'd be so interested to see going forward, like, you know, how that would kind of interactions with handle, like how they'd handle each other going forward. But the fact of the matter is, I think that does speak volumes. The fact is that he is willing to tell her, because I'm sure there's very few people outside of Tact that know the truth about what happened to Bull, you know, so him telling Diana, I guess, kind of speaks volume of kind of what kind of relationship they have. I did kind of forget until Bull brought it up. It's like, right, him and Diana have known each other for a very long time. It isn't just like where they are right now. It's like, no, they've known each other for a very long time, and I forgot about that. So I think that might add another layer to it as well, because they've always kind of had their thing, and now it's like, it's more than a casual thing, but that casual thing connects with that more than casual thing. You get what I'm trying to say? It's more than casual, but still being kept casual, even though it's more than casual. I don't think I've ever said the word casual that much in my life. At least not in one sitting. But nevertheless, I don't know. Like, it was just kind of an interesting episode all around. I'm very interested to see what the next episode has in store for us. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good